Permissibility is a determination deeply rooted in context. It's not a simple yes or no answer, but one that requires careful consideration of the specific rules, regulations, and guidelines that govern a particular situation. To understand permissibility, you must first identify the activity or action in question. What is it that you're trying to determine is permissible or not? Secondly, pinpoint the governing body or authority that sets the standards. This could be a governmental agency, a professional organization, or even an internal company policy. Thirdly, research the specific rules and regulations pertaining to that activity. These rules might be codified in law, published as industry standards, or documented in company handbooks. Fourthly, analyze the situation at hand to see if it aligns with the requirements of those rules. Does the proposed activity meet all the criteria? Are there any potential conflicts or violations? Fifthly, consider any exceptions or waivers that might apply. Some rules have built-in exceptions for specific circumstances, or it may be possible to obtain a waiver from the governing body. Sixthly, document your findings and the rationale behind your decision. This documentation will be crucial if you ever need to justify your actions or defend against accusations of non-compliance. Let's delve deeper into the factors influencing permissibility. The legal framework is often the first place to look. Laws at the local, state, and federal levels establish the boundaries of permissible behavior. These laws can cover a wide range of activities, from environmental regulations to financial transactions to workplace safety. Understanding the relevant legal statutes is crucial for determining permissibility. Industry standards are another important source of information. Many industries have developed their own sets of best practices and guidelines that go beyond the basic legal requirements. These standards are often developed by professional organizations and are designed to promote safety, quality, and ethical conduct. Compliance with industry standards can be a strong indicator of permissibility. Ethical considerations also play a role. Even if an activity is technically legal and compliant with industry standards, it may still be ethically questionable. Permissibility should be assessed not only from a legal and regulatory standpoint, but also from a moral and ethical perspective. Company policies and procedures are also relevant, especially within an organizational context. Companies often have their own internal rules and guidelines that employees must follow. These policies may be more stringent than the external legal requirements. Adhering to company policies is essential for maintaining permissibility within the workplace. Risk assessment is another tool that can be used to evaluate permissibility. By identifying the potential risks associated with an activity and assessing their likelihood and impact, you can determine whether the activity is permissible from a risk management perspective. If the risks are deemed too high, the activity may not be permissible, even if it technically complies with all other rules. The concept of due diligence is closely related to permissibility. Due diligence refers to the process of conducting thorough research and investigation before taking action. By performing due diligence, you can ensure that you have all the information necessary to make an informed decision about permissibility. The burden of proof often rests on the individual or organization seeking to engage in the activity. It is their responsibility to demonstrate that the activity is permissible under the relevant rules and regulations. This may involve providing documentation, obtaining permits, or undergoing inspections. The concept of negligence is also relevant. Negligence occurs when an individual or organization fails to exercise reasonable care, resulting in harm to others. If an activity is deemed to be negligent, it is almost certainly not permissible. The concept of strict liability is even stricter. Strict liability means that an individual or organization is liable for any harm caused by their activity, regardless of whether they were negligent. This is often applied to activities that are inherently dangerous, such as handling hazardous materials. The principle of proportionality is also important. This principle states that the level of restriction or regulation should be proportional to the risk involved. For example, a high-risk activity may be subject to stricter regulations than a low-risk activity. The concept of transparency is crucial. Transparency means being open and honest about your activities and intentions. If you are transparent, it is easier for others to assess the permissibility of your actions. The principle of accountability is also important. Accountability means being responsible for your actions and being willing to accept the consequences if things go wrong. If you are accountable, you are more likely to take steps to ensure that your activities are permissible. The concept of sustainability is increasingly relevant. Sustainability refers to the ability to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Activities that are not sustainable may not be permissible in the long run. The concept of social responsibility is also important. Social responsibility refers to the obligation of individuals and organizations to act in a way that benefits society as a whole. Activities that are not socially responsible may not be permissible, even if they are technically legal. The concept of ethical leadership is also relevant. Ethical leaders set a positive example for others and promote a culture of compliance and ethical behavior. If you have ethical leadership, you are more likely to have permissible activities. The concept of continuous improvement is also important. Continuous improvement refers to the process of constantly seeking ways to improve your processes and practices. By continuously improving, you can reduce the risk of non-compliance and ensure that your activities remain permissible. The use of technology can also play a role in determining permissibility. Technology can be used to monitor compliance, automate processes, and provide access to information. However, technology can also create new risks and challenges, so it is important to use it responsibly. The importance of training and education should not be overlooked. Employees need to be trained in the relevant rules and regulations, and they need to be educated on the importance of compliance. The role of internal controls is crucial. Internal controls are policies and procedures that are designed to prevent and detect errors and fraud. Effective internal controls can help to ensure that activities are permissible. The need for regular audits is also important. Audits are independent reviews of your processes and practices. Regular audits can help to identify areas of non-compliance and ensure that you are meeting your obligations. The importance of whistleblowing should be emphasized. Whistleblowing is the act of reporting illegal or unethical activity. Whistleblowers play a crucial role in uncovering wrongdoing and holding people accountable. The role of government agencies is crucial. Government agencies are responsible for enforcing the laws and regulations. They have the power to investigate violations, issue fines, and even shut down businesses. The importance of public awareness should be emphasized. Public awareness campaigns can help to educate people about the rules and regulations and encourage them to report violations. The need for international cooperation is also important. Many issues, such as environmental protection and terrorism, require international cooperation to address effectively. The role of non-governmental organizations or NGO is crucial. NGO play a vital role in advocating for social and environmental causes. They can also help to monitor compliance and hold governments and businesses accountable. The importance of public participation should be emphasized. Public participation allows people to have a voice in the decisions that affect their lives. It can also help to ensure that the rules and regulations are fair and effective. The need for ongoing dialogue and debate is also important. Ongoing dialogue and debate allow us to challenge existing assumptions and explore new ideas. They can also help to ensure that the rules and regulations are up to date and relevant. The role of the media is crucial. The media plays a vital role in informing the public about important issues and holding people accountable. The importance of critical thinking should be emphasized. Critical thinking allows us to analyze information objectively and make informed decisions. The need for a long-term perspective is also important. We need to consider the long-term consequences of our actions and make decisions that are sustainable for future generations. Firstly, it's crucial to understand the specific activity in question. Secondly, identify the relevant rules and regulations. Thirdly, assess the context in which the activity is taking place. Fourthly, consider any potential risks and benefits. Fifthly, consult with experts if needed. Sixthly, document your findings and decision-making process. Seventhly, be prepared to justify your decision. Eighthly, regularly review and update your understanding of the rules and regulations. Ninthly, promote a culture of compliance and ethical behavior. Tenthly, be accountable for your actions. Now, let's consider some real-world examples. Imagine you are planning to build a new building. Permissibility will depend on compliance with local zoning laws, building codes, environmental regulations, and accessibility standards. You would need to obtain the necessary permits and approvals from the relevant authorities. Another example could be related to financial transactions. Permissibility would depend on compliance with anti-money laundering laws, securities regulations, and tax laws. You would need to ensure that your transactions are transparent and legitimate. Consider the use of personal data. Permissibility would depend on compliance with data privacy laws, such as the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. You would need to obtain consent from individuals before collecting or using their data. Another consideration is related to environmental impact. Permissibility would depend on compliance with environmental regulations such as air and water quality standards. You would need to take steps to minimize your environmental footprint. Workplace safety is also important. Permissibility would depend on compliance with occupational health and safety regulations. You would need to provide a safe working environment for your employees. In conclusion, determining permissibility requires a thorough understanding of the specific context, the relevant rules and regulations, and the potential risks and benefits. It is a complex process that requires careful consideration and sound judgment.